Wisconsin's Attorney General, mental health advocates, and local law enforcement leaders think the state is not serving those most vulnerable.
NBC 15's Morgan Wolf is learning a long disputed topic could soon be debated again at the state capitol.
For decades in Wisconsin, law enforcement are the ones responsible for taking someone having a mental health crisis to get help.
A mental health emergency.
The needs are ever greater.
It's really looking at mental health for what it is, which is an illness. It's not a choice.
When someone is a potential harm to themselves or the community due to mental illness, the majority of U.S. states allow EMS crews to take them to get help. But not in Wisconsin. NBC 15 Investigates reviewed the state mandates requiring law enforcement to make the emergency detentions at a healthcare facility or the state-run Winnebago Mental Health Institute near Oshkosh. When it comes to these types of transports, do you think that it is the best for the patient to be transported by police?
Well, obviously, I don't think that it's good for anyone to be in the back of a police car. More specifically, I think that if it's somebody who's really struggling with their mental health, I think that it can be traumatizing. Journey mental health advocates work closely with officers on mental health training. Journey is one of the largest mental health organizations in Wisconsin. I think that there are a lot of different options to look at. Hannah Flanagan has specific concerns. If you have a person who has a thought disorder like schizophrenia, and they're already paranoid, they're maybe have delusions about the government or law enforcement, and then all of a sudden they find themselves in the back of a police car, getting transported hours away, I think that it could even feed into their delusions to some degree.
It's what the state has forced us into, and it's how we can provide the care that these individuals need.
NBC 15 Investigates spoke with 3 leading law enforcement voices in southern Wisconsin: Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney, Madison Police Chief Mike Koval, and Beloit Police Chief David Zabolski. All 3 do not support the state mandates. Out of all the law enforcement officers that I spoke to about this case, they told me their biggest fear is that someone that needs help will end up in a cell.
I would be naive, and it would perhaps be disingenuous to suggest that those probably haven't crept into that jail where they don't belong from time to time.
Wisconsin requires 2 officers to take the mental health patients to a hospital first for clearance, then drive them to Winnebago. It's where a majority of the emergency detentions are taken across the state. Only those in Milwaukee County have their own system close to home.
Those are cops off the street in those communities. For Beloit, it's a 6-hour round trip if everything goes well.
And it's a 4-hour round trip from Madison. NBC 15 Investigates wanted to know the overtime costs for these transports. We asked for and received documents starting from June 2016 until March 2019. Within that time period, Beloit police spent $40,000 in unbudgeted overtime costs. In 2018 alone, Madison police spent just under that.
This isn't about the money. This is about the humanity of how we treat people who are fragile and are suffering. And secondly, keeping cops in our community where they belong, not on a road trip that's 2 hours down the road.
We're all having the same issue. We all experience the staffing issue and the cost issue that goes along with it.
The state's stance on mental health transports changed in 2014. That's when the Department of Health Services closed off emergency detention transports to the Mendota Mental Health Facility in Dane County, opting to send them to Winnebago. NBC 15 Investigates requested records from DHS that reveal there were 1,923 police transports to Winnebago in 2013 before the change in policy. The transports increased almost 65% in 2018 to 3,115 transports. Since 2016, Beloit has made 97 mental health transports, 62 of them to Winnebago. Madison alone had nearly 200 transports last year. These are separate from trips that Rock County and Dane County Sheriff deputies make.
Does it make sense? I think it makes sense maybe from the state perspective of they could put all the costs on local government, close down some of their facilities, and push those costs out. It has not benefited law enforcement or the mental health community.
DHS denied my multiple requests for an on-camera interview, saying that they had scheduling conflicts. They did agree to correspond with us through email. A spokesperson wrote, "It is a goal to have people with mental health issues treated in their community. But there are times when people with these issues can pose a danger to themselves and others. And the situation is such that they need the kind of treatment that a psychiatric hospital like Winnebago Mental Health Institute can provide." NBC 15 Investigates was sent a Mental Health Institute service realignment document. It reveals that there was an increasing demand for civil and criminal justice patients in Wisconsin, which led to the state dividing up facilities to better accommodate each type. The document read, "Criminal justice patients require greater control and security. Facility infrastructures are developed based on these needs." What's your stance on these mental health transports with police?
I think we need to reform the system that we have in place right now.
Newly elected Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says that it's time lawmakers take another look at the policies.
This is something we need to get fixed. I'm hopeful that the legislature will take action to fix it in this session.
Nobody chooses depression. Nobody chooses suicidal thoughts or actions.
The state has chosen this system. Do you feel that we are criminalizing mental health?
I think that there's a possibility that people who should be tracked under a mental health model might, through unintended consequences, end up in a criminal justice track. That's what I worry about.
Our hands are handcuffed because this is what this is the position the state has put us in.
Now, law enforcement leaders that I spoke with say something that would help them if EMS crews or even contractors were available to do these mental health transports. It would lighten the load.
Yeah, Morgan, I know that law enforcement leaders have had some discussions with lawmakers before about these mental health transports.
In 2017, there was actually a bipartisan effort that was opened to the Capitol. It was trying to get Mendota to reopen for emergency detentions, but it never made it to the floor for a vote. So it's still kind of up in the air.
Now, Madison actually sued DHS over the closing of Mendota for emergency detentions back in 2014.
In 2014, so that was right after they made that decision to push them to Winnebago, and so the judge ruled in favor with DHS. It was appealed, and then the appellate courts did uphold the lower court's decision.
All right, and if you'd like to learn more information about all this or view more records that NBC 15 Investigates has obtained on these mental health transports from different counties, Morgan will be posting it on our website and on our free app.